Hello, I'm Catherine Salmond, editor of the Herald. I am here today with our education writer, James McEnaney. So you've been with us at the Herald now for about a month. I was absolutely thrilled. I've made no, excuses for that or played it down. Absolutely thrilled when you agreed to come and join us. I obviously came into the role last September, and one of the big things that I wanted to do was to champion Scotland more. I don't think readers enjoy the narrative of Scotland being talked down. Education for me was a huge part of that. And I know we've had this conversation so many times amongst ourselves, but the feeling that, there's so much good that goes on in Scottish education. There are so many inspiring and, life-changing teachers out there, and so many utterly fantastic students. For us, there's a frustration that wasn't being celebrated or encouraged, or any of those stories being used as examples to influence change. So I don't know, could you tell our readers just why I find this so exciting and what it is we're trying to do?
Yeah, so I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? It's easy to do the bad news stories, especially in education where things are really complicated. So if you're trying to deal with something really, really complex, it's hard to get the nuance and the subtlety, but it can be really easy to get this percentage has gone down or something like that. And over the years, I think things have just gone too far that way. And that's not me saying that we're not interested in investigating problems and issues, because it's me and I'm still up for that stuff. But it's absolutely the case that there's not been anything like enough attention paid to the good news stories in Scottish education. And there are so many good news stories. There's so many brilliant things happening. I've seen a tiny snapshot of it just in the few weeks that I've been out talking to people, and this is my job now. And genuinely, I think it's a huge privilege that I'm going to have this opportunity to actually spend my time travelling around the country and speaking to people and trying to tell a bit more of the whole truth, I suppose, about Scottish education.
I was delighted when you came on board to help us shape the coverage of Scottish education, both of us agreeing that we needed to change things, to have a more positive solutions focus at the Herald. I think for too long Scottish education's been talked down and not talked up enough. So on that, what are the challenges facing Scottish education in 2023?
There's no shortage of challenges in Scottish education just now. That's absolutely true. But I think for me, even though we do see plenty of challenges around things like, curriculum, we've got a big review of education going on apparently just now. And while there are individual issues, for example, around things like the teaching and reading in Scotland, I still think it's the case that actually the majority of the major kind of most immediate challenges are around things like resources, and they're to do with things like budgets, they're to do with teacher numbers, they're to do with class sizes. The actual mechanics of making the system work on a day-to-day basis are the things that are still, as far as I can see, under the most pressure.
So there are a lot of challenges facing Scottish education at the moment, but there's an awful lot of success stories. Do you want to touch on some of those?
There are so many good news stories in Scottish education, and it's really frustrating that actually they've not had the prominence or the coverage that they deserve. I've only been here a few weeks, and we've already had these tiny little pocket-sized computers making a difference in classrooms. We've got this organisation called Future Asset, which is trying to address gender imbalance in investment management. We went to the Inverclyde Shed to look at a much more community-based model of education. And the thing is that up and down the country every single day, teachers and lecturers and educators work miracles all the time, and it's just this normal run-of-the-mill thing that they do. So it often to them doesn't look like anything special, but it is special, and I think it's great that we'll finally have the chance to do something about highlighting some of that.
James, you have just come out of teaching to join us, so you are perfectly placed to answer this. How does it feel to be a teacher in Scotland in 2023?
I think being a teacher in Scotland in 2023 is is pretty tough, really. I think that would probably be the kindest way that you could say it for a lot of teachers right now in 2023. I think a lot of them would say that things are becoming worse. And I know many teachers who feel that things are actually very rapidly reaching a tipping point where they may well become unbearable. The teaching profession has done some absolutely remarkable things over the last few years to try and hold things together in the face of COVID, and prior to that, through years and years of constant change, constant political upheaval, and this constant feeling of them never being sort of fully respected for the job that they do. And in all honesty, I don't think that's got better in recent years, and I think there are a lot of teachers out there who feel as if they are getting very, very close to the point where they might need to make a decision about if this is something they want to continue doing, and that's not a situation that we want to be getting into in this country at all.
How do you think teachers feel about media coverage of their sector?
How do teachers see media coverage in Scotland? How honest are we being today? Okay, so I think, in all honesty, a very large number of teachers in Scotland have been very unhappy with the way in which education has been presented in the press. And to be 100% honest, and I say this as somebody who's been involved in that coverage of education in the press, I don't really think that they're wrong. To be completely straight with you, I think that in recent years, coverage of Scottish education, to be honest, I don't think it's been good enough. And as I say, I include myself in that. Part of the reason I've come to do this job is because I don't think it's been good enough. I don't think I've been good enough over the last few years. And so I think teachers often feel that their profession is simply talked down. I think they often feel that the work they do is misrepresented. And I think they feel like there's an almost unbreakable focus on bad news stories, and that no one's really interested in the other stuff that happens. I don't think that's an illegitimate view, frankly. I think there's a lot of truth in that, and it's something that actually, it's the very thing really that we're going to try and do something about.
I think this is a really important question. How important do you think it is for students in Scotland to feel that their voice is heard and understood by the Scottish media?
I think it's really important actually that student voices are heard in the media. We actually, people in education, we talk about a lot this idea of like student voice, but it is something that should go beyond just the education sector. Like, I think we've got a responsibility to make sure that the voices of the people who are affected by education, which is the students, I think the responsibility is there to try to make sure that those voices are not only heard and understood actually, but something that I'm really looking forward to is being able to actually platform some of those voices as well. It shouldn't always just be about me telling people what they're saying. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity of working with students, working with young people to find ways to actually let them speak on their own terms as well.